Okay, we're starting tonight another Hadran al Rambam. As you see, this is from the year Tov Shin Nun. The Rebbe made many Hadranim on the Rambam, and the Pele is every time the Rebbe made a Hadran. On one hand, it's the same theme, it's the same Kamayim L'Yam Chasim, and the same you say this, but every time another layer of understanding, a completely new, fresh look at what the Rambam says. Unbelievable. So, what we're going to learn here in this Hadran from the Rebbe is connected to the last Hadran we learned, which was from Tov Shin Mem Vav. The Tov Shin Mem Zayin Hadran we learned already here. The Tov Shin Mem Tes Hadran we learned already here. The Mem Ches we didn't yet, but we're going to learn Tov Shin Nun now, which will be connected to what we learned. These Hadranim, people don't get a chance to learn them. You learn a Sikha on the Parsha, you learn different Yonim, but the Hadranim al Rambam, which is primarily about Moshiach, that's the conclusion of the Rambam. For some reason, it's a treasure, and people don't get to learn it. So I think it's a good opportunity to do it. Ready? Yeah. Here we go. The same Sifrei Kaisav Rambam. The Rambam writes at the conclusion of a Sefer, Uba Oisai has man in that time period, Lo Yisham, Lo Rav, Lo Milchama Chulo, there'll be no hunger, no war. Lo Yeh, Eisek Kala Ilam, El Ladas, Es Hashem Bilvad. The occupation of the entire world will be only to know Hashem. Ulefichach, Yiu, Yisrael, Chacham Gedalim. So the Rambam just spoke about Kala Ilam. And then the Rambam goes on to speak about Yidden. Yidden will be very wise, v'yodim dvarim astumim, and will know all hidden matters. V'yasigu das bayram, and they will comprehend the understanding of Hashem kifi koyach adam, as much as it's humanly possible. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, kimolo ha'oretz deyas havaya, that the world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, kamayim layam machasim, like the water that covers the ocean. So first, the Rebbe gives us a kitzur of a point that was already explained and mentioned in the Hadranim before. And then the Rebbe will go a step deeper. So now, when his Bayer come upon him, it was already explained a number of times. Shah Rambam Khan Mevi, the Rambam here brings, Loira Kaschalas HaKosov, Kimala Ha'aretz Deya Savaya, the beginning of the pasuk where it says that the world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, Elegam Siyam HaKosov. The Rambam quotes the words of the conclusion of the pasuk, which are Kamayim Layam Machasim, the water that covers the floor of the sea. What's the addition of this conclusion of the pasuk? Shabai nitaisev begeidel haflas oifen yidias Hashem b'yisas man. The conclusion of this pasuk is adding an important point in understanding how great and to what extent will be the knowledge of Hashem when Mashiach comes. What's the chiddush here? Shenais of lekach sha'aretz kol tiyeh meleya deyas Hashem. In addition to what the pasuk says, that the entire world will be full with the knowledge of Hashem. Now, the word Meleya, the Rebbe points out, Male in the true sense means when something is completely, ultimately full. You see, yeah, that's what the term was. But Male, yeah, the Rebbe says, there's no space for anything else. Right there. Yeah. Okay, but let me just describe what this mali means over here, because we're not only talking about, maybe you can continue somewhere else, unless it's impossible. If it's important to hear, then it's, you can't understand. Yeah. Okay. So let's just to describe what mali means, because this is something that's explained in the Chassidus. The Moshe says, Maleim ziv u'mefikim noiga. We say it in davening every Shabbos, Maleim Ziv, that the light of Hashem, it's full of radiance. What's the real concept of Male? Male means when you have something that exists in its ultimate form. Right? When you have something which is full, but it's not talking about physically. You take a cup and you fill it up with water, or you fill it up with other contents. The water, it fills the entire cup. But are you going to say that this is not what the cup consists of, the mitzias of the water? Avdafke. Right now, the cup is containing water in it. If I'll put in something else, it'll be a vessel for something else. Male means this now turns into the entire identity of what this is. This is what it's filled with. Malayim ziv, by the Eibusher, when there's a source of radiance to shine, it's not just something which is he has, but poil the koyach to provide light. It's the ultimate light. This is the ultimate concept of the source of light. When it says here this lashon of male, it means in the toichen, in the content of what the world will be. When Mashiach comes, we will see that the entire content and the existence of the world is one thing, Deus Hashem. That's what it means. Okay. Now the pasuk here continues, and the Rambam quotes, ilui God lo'id yaser. There'll be something even more, which is kamayim lohiyam mechasim, that it will be covered. The world will be covered with the knowledge of Hashem. Like the floor of the sea that's covered by the water. You don't see an existence besides the water. So there's one thing to say, I see the world. The world exists. And that world that exists, it doesn't exist like a jungle. It doesn't exist where I don't understand what the world is about. I look at the world that exists and I identify right away that it's full. It's a full Welt. It's a world that's full of the content of Hashem. It's one level. Another level is you look at the world, you don't see a Welt. You lechatchila see Getlachkeit. The world is covered with another layer of true reality, which is the Eibusher. The Dugmasei b'mei adas, and this is an example, and the way it is by the Eibusher, the Lashon Rambam says regarding the mikveh mei adas, the waters of knowledge of Hashem, shemitzias haaretz betela legamri umuchuse b'deis Hashem. It's bottled and it's covered with the knowledge of Hashem. It's not that you see a world that's completely full of the Eibusher. You see a world, you don't see a world. That's what it is. You don't see a world. This lashon, by the way, of Mala Haaretz Deya is the contrast to the lashon that Alter Rebbe says in Tanya regarding the condition of the world today. Alter Rebbe says about the world today that it's Male Klippas Sitrach. Alter Rebbe's medayik this lashon in a few places. Male. Alter Rebbe doesn't say that the world has in it powers of klip and sitrach. It's mali. Mali means this now identifies Metzias of Welt. When you look at Metzias of Welt, you see instinctively an existence of klip and sitrach. It's not a place that has in it, it allows for klip and sitrach to be out of control. This is what defines Welt today. When Mashiach comes, it'll be mali deis avaya. But that's not, no, it's not mechusik. That's before. Well, by Klippa. No, by Klippa, it's not Mechusa. No, not enough from Mechusa. And then Lost Lavai, it'll be even furthermore. You won't see Welt in the first place. It'll all be completely. Table? You're not going to see a table, no. No, you see table. You're not going to see table. You're going to see a table, but you're not going to see the table of the table. You're going to see Getlachkeit. That's what you're going to see. That's it. Getlachkeit. The concept. True, but think of it this way. What's this table? It's a table, or is it a tool, or it's a utensil that is intended for the ability to learn Torah? Yeah. So today we see the table. That's step one. And then step two, we see that it can be used for silly things, or it can be used for learning Torah. Yeah. And then we can see how its purpose is being used to learn Torah. Baruch Hashem. But when Mashiach comes, you're not going to see the table and then see what it can be used for. You're going to see lechatchila that it's a tool for Getlachkeit. It's an expression of the Eibusher. That's it. You'll see it directly in the right lechatchila. Yeah. Okay. Move on. Based on this, we understand. The Rambam adds these three words. He adds it over here at the conclusion of the entire sefer of the Rambam. In Hilchos Shuvah, the Rambam talks about the same subject, quotes the same pasuk, but he doesn't quote the last few words. Mashiach comes, will be an abundance of knowledge and wisdom and truth. Period. Doesn't bring the kamayim. This is a question that the Rebbe spoke about a number of times. The difference between the Rambam and Hilchos Malachim and Hilchos Shuvah, where he doesn't quote the pasuk. What's the reason? Ki Hilchos Shuvah. What's the Rambam discussing in Hilchos Shuvah? It's not the place where he's discussing what's going to be when Mashiach comes. Hilchos Shuvah is discussing a world where it's possible to do an Aveda, or one actually did an Aveda, and there's a need for Tshuva. It's before you come to the times of Mashiach, when there's still things that have to be completed in Aveda. There's a possibility, there's space for a condition that's negative, even if there's no Aveda B'Poel. The very fact that there's a possibility, that means that it requires tshuva. What's the greatest shleimus? And that in our time period now, before Mashiach comes, when the Rambam speaks about the description of Mashiach and Hilchas Tshuva, he's not talking about Yemaisa Mashiach per se. He's talking about Yemaisa Mashiach. How are we supposed to view Yemaisa Mashiach out of the Golus perspective, out of our understanding of what Mashiach is today? There is what Mashiach is purely, in the pure sense of Mashiach. But then there's something else. What Mashiach is according to our reality today. What the real meaning of Mashiach is something that's beyond our imagination. If you remember, we learned that Sikh actually. The Rebbe's, this is very big kids. The Rebbe over there said an amazing thing, that when it speaks about believing in Mashiach and wanting Mashiach and hoping for Mashiach, you can't demand someone to want something that he has no clue what it is. The real level of revelation of Mashiach, so you can't demand of someone to want that revelation of Mashiach if it's not something that we have any clue what it's about. So the Rambam is speaking about the level of Mashiach. We see what life is about today, and we have an imagination, an understanding of what the shleimus of life is today. That shleimus of life, of the Eibishter, is Mashiach that we have to be desiring and hoping for and davening for. That's what the Rambam is talking about in Hilchas Tshuva. Okay, so if that's the case, what's the ultimate level that you can come to in our understanding of Mashiach today? You're looking at a world, you identify the world as an existence, and now the question is, what is this world that you're living in about? Is it Mali Klippus Sitra Achra, or is it Mali with Deis Hashem? Those are the two options, but there's no option to speak of an existence where there's no Welt B'chlal. That's out of our imagination. What do you mean there's no Welt? Like you're asking the question, well, it's going to be a table. It's not going to be a table. It's like we don't relate to this musik that there won't be a Metzias of Welt B'chlal. You'll have your own table. Hainu shepu'ulas atshuvi, what does tshuva accomplish? Shemitzias adam v'ha'aretz, that the person, the world, nasas maleya v'chadura b'dasas Hashem. The person is completely full, permeated with the knowledge of Hashem. But the next step, the end of the pasuk where it says that it's completely covered like the water in the sea, that doesn't apply to our existence today, which is bittul, mitzias, adam v'aretz. That those additional words says that you don't exist, b'chlal. I should desire something. We're talking about something where you don't exist. So me, with my seichel, with my I'm going to desire that. It's not shaykh b'chlal to the mitzias of a person. Something negative. And therefore today there's the inyan of tshuva. So the world could either be molly with this or molly with that. When Mashiach comes, there's no world to speak of that it could be molly with this or that. It's just bittul b'mitzias. That's it. But here, as the Rebbe points out, that it says in the heading of the Rambam in the fuss of Venezia, that it's the halachas of Melech HaMashiach. At the conclusion of the Rambam, not at the beginning, the first steps of Mashiach, when he begins fighting the battle for Yidden, but at the conclusion, when you see the full revelation of Mashiach, so then you have the full shleimus of the revelation of Mashiach, which consists of the fact that the world becomes batul b'mitzias completely. Ois Welt legamri. That's the addition of Kamayim L'Yom HaChasam. Okay, this is the Hezber.
It's going to be a table.
It's
still going to be a table.
Depends what it means, be a table.
We're going to see.
The way you're understanding a table, no. Das table, that table at Nishzayin. Yeah. Yeah.
And the Rebbe said that the Gedam Stände, right? So, and then I'm still
The standard. There's a sikh from the Rebbe about that. Barichas. In the early chafs, the Rebbe spoke about it. Barichas Gedayla. It's recorded. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
The Yesha Miti, the Yesha Nivra, Yesha Miti. Akapon, that was Masber.
But it was the standard.
Yeah. True, but he didn't see the standard. He saw the Yesha Miti in the standard. This is a Yanish standard. That's a standard. Okay, but here the Rebbe questions the entire premise of everything that's being said. This is the kitzer, one kudah of the hadran that the Rebbe said in the year Tovshim Mem Tes, right? Which is the year before this year. Shenun coming. Okay. The last two paragraphs that we just learned is a kitzer of the nukudah of the hadran that the Rebbe said the year before this. So it is. So the Rebbe in the following year here in Tovshin Nun started off with that nakudah and now takes it a step further, a deeper level. Every year has to be a new hisafa, a new level. This is lacking an explanation. Why? When you use this expression of mechasim to clarify, I mean, the Rebbe is not changing from what it says before, but just to clarify, what does covering mean? The point there is not only that there won't be an additional existence besides the knowledge of Hashem, which is seemingly, in the words of the Rambam, meaning that you may be occupied with business, with pleasure, with other things, and for that we're negating, no, business, pleasure won't interest you. What will interest you is the most important thing, Deus Hashem. That's what it would seem the Rambam is saying. But that's not the only point here. It's much more than that. Elo, as was already explained before here, elegam bittul etzem hametzias. The whole world, as we know it, would be completely nullified. That's my interest, and you're going to realize that the Eibishter is greater and more important than your shtusim. There won't be any shtusim. There'll be nothing. It'll be bottled b'metzias. That's the point. And that's why we bring this example of the yam. Bedugmas hayam, just like with the sea. Shenais of lekach she'em loy metzias nisefes muvada yesei mokem hamayim. The water, it's the sea, and it's a place of water. There's nothing else. Mokem hamayim korer yam. Yam is a place of water, no other existence. Even the fish, we'll see about the fish in the heart in a second. So the emes is, if you would empty the sea from all the water, so you'll discover a beautiful, massive place, the floor of the sea, which has maybe plants growing in it and whatever is there. So it's a metzias makim, it's a metzias of a place. But once the water, the billions and trillions of gallons of water fill the space of the floor of the sea, you don't look at it and say, oh, there's a metzias of a floor. This is a metzias of Yabasha. It's really a place of dry land. Now there's like a water here, like a fish tank. It's not a fish tank. It's a new existence where the concept of dry land does not exist, and it becomes yam. That's it. This is what it is. There's Yabasha and there's yam. That's really what the idea of yam is. So it's not just a temporarily filling the space with something else. It's more important. No, it's mevatel what's there beforehand completely. That's a yam, and that's the meaning of kamayim layam mechasim. What exists there before is not appear at all. It's not exist at all. That's what a yam is. Okay, so then we're going to say, well, there's life in the water. There's fish. So the Rebbe here says, "Not a 10 mashenkin dogim shebiyam." The fish are in the water. Not a 10. You see, the fish in the water. Sha'af shekol chiyusam himei yam. Fish, they get their entire source of life from the water. There's an opinion of Shimon ben Gamliel. He holds something that's of a living in the water, of the fish, and a chatzitz. It doesn't create a chatzitza. If you toivel and the fish attaches itself to your skin, it's not a chatzitza. The existence of the fish is like part of the water. It lives from the water. However, the fact is, you can put fish outside of the water for, 10 minutes, maybe even longer, a half hour, and then you'll put it back into the water and it'll live. Even the fish are not exactly water. But over here, the Rambam says, yam, that's it. The yam does not include the fish. Absolute bittul b'metzias. That's the vart there. Oh, so based on this, the Rebbe says it's a big problem, a big question. And if so, the question is, does it actually make sense that this point is the conclusion of the entire Rambam? The conclusion of the entire Rambam is what? That the whole world is like non-existent? In other words, the Rambam is teaching you all the halachas, and it's coming to the peak, to the end, to the last point. What's the last point? It's all batal, nothing exists. That's the conclusion of the Rambam. Sefer Ayat hu halachas. The Sefer of the Rambam is not a Sefer of Agadat or of Midrashim. It's halachas. What is halachas? Shinyanim lifo badvarim shubayil. Halachas means the guidance of the Torah, how to live in the world. Shikifir ras Torah, that everything in the world should be according to the instruction of Torah. Well, derech ze bilchas melcha Mashiach, and these halachas itself of bilchas melcha Mashiach, halachas hashaychas la'ashleimus the mitzias ha'olam b'yimayis Mashiach. The Rambam discusses how the world will look in order that the world should be a perfect place according to Torah's requirements and Torah's wishes. Right? The Rambam doesn't bring all the midrashim about Mashiach because he's talking about Mashiach as it relates to halacha. And even more so, Kamud, Gishgam b'divrei Rambam, you see this Inyan highlighted very strongly. In the words of the Rambam at Chilas HaPerek, in the beginning of the last Perek, Al Yal Al Alev should be Moshiach Mashiach Yibatel Davar Mimenoga Shalaylam Cholu. Do not think that when Mashiach comes, anything in the nature of the world will be nullified. That's not the case. The Rambam says nature will remain as is. Hanishatir Hamatzav Yemoshiach Mashiach B'Sifreihu. When the Rambam speaks about Yemoshiach Mashiach from the standpoint of halacha, what does he say? Shatir Hamatzav Yemoshiach Mashiach B'Sifreihu Mitzias Ha'olam. An existence of a world, and even more so, Eilam Kimin Hagay Noyeg, a world with its nature, Tia Betachlas Ashleimos. The world will be a perfect and beautiful place. A table. The table will be utilized for its ultimate purpose. Yeah, perfectly. But it'll be an existence. Then what's the ultimate perfection? That everything in the world is utilized for the knowledge of Hashem. Hainu. So looking at from the standpoint of halacha, the point is, there is an existence of Welt. The world is coming to its ultimate and perfect existence only for the knowledge of Hashem. This idea was explained also in another place, in one of the first Hadran of the Rebbe, from the year Tav Shalom and Hey, Shemitam Zel Hisker and Rambam, B'Siyim Sifroi, the Rambam stops short. He doesn't explain what's going to happen after Yemayis HaMashiach. Yemayis HaMashiach is not the final time period. After Yemayis HaMashiach, the Gemara in Sanhedrin discusses Elef HaShvi, the 7th millennium, which will be Chad Charov. Everything in the world will change completely. Charov actually means destruction. We once learned about this. It doesn't mean literally destruction. I mean, the Gemara there describes it. It's going to be Mayim, Ben Mayim, and we're going to be hovering over the waters. It means that the world will become Mayim Yom HaChasim. That's the Chad Charov, really. The world will be completely bottled. But the Rambam doesn't bring this Chat Charov. Why? That Chat Charov doesn't belong in a Sefer Halacha. The Rambam discusses Torah, mitzvahs in relation to the existence of the world to its ultimate point, which is Mashiach. Beyond that, Chat Charov is not in a Sefer Halacha.
You mentioned in the 1958, my mother,
Yeah.
there ain't enough Tahara, where the whole world gets covered with
Yeah,
water because
yeah,
it takes it a
correct.
level higher.
Yeah, okay, but that's already beyond the existence of the world. So the Rambam doesn't bring it.
So that we're going to be
Yeah.
living in cities above the...
Yeah. It's not a part of the shleimus of the world. So if so, the question is, this is all contradicted by the Rambam himself. Move on. If so, the question is, why does the Rambam bring these? The very last word, machasim, cover. Hadgashas bittul mitzisel. Machasim means that we're going to cover and nullify the existence of the world. The world becomes covered by the knowledge of Hashem. The world as an existence doesn't. There's no appearance to the existence of the world. But dugmas kakayis hayam, like the floor of the sea, it's completely covered and it has no entity at all. That's the conclusion of the Rambam. How could it be? How could it be? This Inyan of Bitla Metzias of Kamayim Yom Chasim, Lam is arguing that this is a certain stage that will happen, but it doesn't belong as a conclusion of Sefer Halachas. Sefer Halachas is discussing the perfection of an existence of the world, not Mevatel the Metzias of the world. That's a time period that doesn't belong in a Sefer Halacha. One more thing, let's just finish off with order 15. The Rebbe points out another thing. The Yisayim Mizeh She'enim Masker Afil Al Dvav Bittul Menaga Shalaylam B'Tukufa Ashni the Yemaisa Mashiach. Not only does the Rambam not bring about Elef HaShvi, in Yemaisa Mashiach Gufa, this is a famous Chiddush of the Rebbe, that are two Tkufas. There's a time period where there's miracles. The Rambam doesn't cover that either. Shagam Adas Rambam B'Vada Yisham Chiddush B'Maisa Bereshis. The Rambam agrees that in Yemaisa Mashiach there'll be miracles. The Rambam believed in Tchias HaMesim, but the Rambam doesn't quote Tchias HaMesim. This was one of the big tainas on the Rambam. And people said, oh, the Rambam doesn't believe in Tchias HaMesim, right? Why doesn't the Rambam bring it? Because it doesn't belong in a Sefer Halacha. That's a different Tkufa. Kiyim al Dvara Tkufa Rishayna the Yemaisa Mashiach Shalom Kiminaganai. The Rambam only quotes the first time period Mashiach, Beis HaMikdash, Karbanes, Mitzvahs, Tchias HaMesim, Chat Charov. All those things don't belong in Sefer Halachas. So why is the Rambam saying, what's the Mechasim here? It's a steer to the whole subject. That's the Shaila.
Is there any gear that doesn't have it?
No such Gersa. No such Gersa. The Rebbe would have brought it.